So, most of my story times where I'm a total and complete idiot usually take place between the ages of like 14 and 18 years old. I feel like those were the prime ages where I just wasn't using my brain to its fullest extent, and I was getting myself into a lot of situations that I probably shouldn't have been getting myself into, and you've heard about them on this channel hundreds of times. But there's one story time in particular, one thing that I just haven't talked about, and it took place before those ages. This was like one of my first real stupid things I've ever done. And I guess it's not completely my fault. There's another person to blame, or I guess another couple people. But it is also still, my fault as well. And I haven't talked about this one yet. And it's really just kind of hilarious and crazy. It's just a little bit of everything. And I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. So I hope you do. Leave a like on the video if you do enjoy it. And let's get into it. So, today's story time all takes place back when I was 12 years old. Yeah, 12, man. This is a long time ago, man. I was young. This was like when I first started to kind of like become my own person in a way. It's like when I started, watching a lot more YouTube on my own, finding out what kind of content I like to watch, what kind of video games I like to play, what kind of friends I like to hang out with. I feel like once I hit 12, I became a little bit more aware of my surroundings, if that makes sense. Not saying I was not like my own person before then, but I feel like I was living a little bit on autopilot before then. So yeah, 12 years old, I was having a good life. I was chilling, being a 12-year-old, doing what 12-year-olds do, which was, like I said, playing video games, hanging out with my friends, enjoying life, being a kid, And this was during summer vacation. That's where this story time all takes place. So I wasn't in school at the time. All of my other friends were out of school, and I was having a really good summer. My sleep schedule was all sorts of messed up. I was going to bed at like 5, 6 in the morning, getting up at like 2 p.m., playing Xbox, hanging out with my friends, like just enjoying summer and being a kid, right? And one day during the summer, I was in my room playing some Call of Duty. I was on an Xbox party with a few of my in real life friends, and we were trying to plan something. We didn't know what we wanted to do, but we knew that we wanted to go to somebody's house in the friend group and spend the night there that night. And we all decided that we should go to my house. That sounded like the best idea to me. I always liked hosting people. I preferred to host my friends than go to their houses. Nothing against where they lived. I just felt more comfortable in my own home, and I liked having people at my house. That's kind of just what it was. So yeah, I was stoked when everyone wanted to come over. And we all made a plan. We all kind of agreed that they would come over around like 6, 7 p.m. And it's funny because we made this plan and I hadn't even asked my parents yet, and neither did any of them. So like after we made this plan, I was like, all right, maybe we should go ask our parents. And they were all like, oh yeah. And my one friend's like, yeah, I'm gonna go do that. I'll be right back. And I'm like, yeah, me too. And everyone's like, yeah, me too. So we all go AFK for a little bit. I go into my mom's room. They go into their parents' rooms. I asked my mom, I'm like, Mom, can I have some friends sleep over tonight? And she's like, how many? And I was like 3, maybe 4 if I invite somebody else. She's like, 3 or 4? What? Because she knew that meant she'd probably be getting kept awake at night because we were kind of loud at night. We'd just be in the basement screaming, playing video games. And she's like, no, like not 4. And I was like, okay, well, can 3 people come over? And she's like, fine, but like seriously, keep the noise down after like midnight, all right? And I was like, deal. So I ran back into my room. I was like, guys, like you're all good to come over. Like my mom said I could have 3 people over tonight, so you're all good. And they were all like, yeah, our parents said yeah too. So I was stoked. Everybody was gonna be able to come over. Everyone was sleeping over. I was excited, right? So immediately I told them all I would see them all later, and I was gonna jump off Xbox and kind of like get my house ready to have people over and like, just go do some other stuff. So I did. I jumped off Xbox. I cleaned up my house a little bit in preparation for having all my friends come over. I cleaned up the basement because that's where we'd probably be sleeping that night because usually we'd all either sleep in the basement or the living room. And yeah, I was just stoked. So fast forward to later that night. It was about 7:30. My first homie arrived. We'll call that homie Matthew. Yeah, Matthew pulled up. And like 5 minutes after him, the last 2 homies showed up. We'll just call them Brian and Nick. Okay, so Brian, Nick, and Matthew were all at my house at this point, and we were all just stoked to be hanging out, right? So, like any other sleepover, it started off very, very normal and fun. We were just, like I said, chilling in my basement, playing some video games, snacking on junk food, drinking soda, just being kids, man. And then as the night goes on and it gets later and later and later, we kind of start getting bored. Like we're kind of running out of things to do. And at this point, it's late. It's probably like 11:30 or midnight, which is late for my household. My mom was asleep by then. My stepdad was. Most of my brothers were, besides one of my brothers, who I'll talk about later. And yeah, everyone was pretty much asleep besides my brother upstairs, and we were bored. We're all just sitting in my basement. We ran out of things to play, things to do. So we decided that we would go for a little night walk. Now, we weren't supposed to be doing that. My mom, told me, don't go out of the house without telling me, especially at night. So, yeah, I couldn't do that. But we did anyway. We just kind of snuck out the front door, and me and my friends walked around my block twice, just enjoying the nice summer weather, nice summer air, just talking about a whole lot of nothing. I remember at one point we were talking shit about this kid from school that did not like us for any particular reason. And then we were talking about girls we liked, just, some real kid conversations, right? And after the second loop of the block, we came back to my house and I noticed something. My brother and his friend were sitting on my front porch. Now, my brother was 7 years older than me. So, yeah, he was 19. So was his friend. They had a lot more freedom than I did because I was only 12 years old. So, yeah, he had his friend come over in the middle of the night, which I could never do, obviously. But he could just have his friends over whenever. So, yeah, his friend pulled up at midnight. And they were both just sitting on the porch. And they saw us coming up the driveway. And I was like, hey, what's up, man? And my brother's like, what's up? Where were you guys at? And I was like, we were just, walking around. We got bored, didn't know what to do. So we went for a little night walk. And my brother's like, did mom say that was okay? I feel like she wouldn't want you walking around in the middle of the night like that. And I was like, yeah, no, I didn't ask her. I kind of snuck out, but we're okay. And we're home now for the night. And my brother and his friend kind of start fucking with us. They're like, oh, we're going to tell your mom. We're going to snitch on you. And they're just messing with us. I knew he was trolling me because that's what he did. That's what older brothers do. And I was just like, shut up, man. And after I don't know, a few minutes of that, we went back to just having a normal conversation on the porch. And I asked my brother and his friend what they had planned for the night. And my brother was like, I don't really know, man. I was thinking about going to this party tonight, but we don't really know if we want to do that. We're probably just going to get some food or something and just hang out at his house. And he could kind of see it in my face. I had a disappointed face on. And he was like, are you good? And I was like, yeah, man, I'm just jealous. He's like, of what? I'm like, you guys get to drive and just go wherever you want and just don't have rules to follow. And that was the truth of how I felt at the time. I was the youngest out of 4 brothers. So all I saw, all day, every day at my house was my brothers being independent and having their own cars and being able to drive wherever they wanted and hang out with their friends till whatever hour they wanted. And I couldn't do that yet because I was only a kid. So yeah, it sucked. And when I told my brother that, he's like, dude, it's not as amazing as you think. Trust me, when you get older, there's a lot of other problems you'll deal with that you don't have to deal with right now. Trust me, dude, being an adult isn't that cool. And also, it's not rule-free like you're saying it is. There's plenty of rules I have to follow under mom's roof, too. And I was like, yeah, whatever. Just, kind of blowing it off because, I was just jealous. And my brother's friend has this idea to try and make me feel better, right? He's like, Austin, I know what'll cheer you up. And I was like, what? And he's like, I just got this new car. It's super sick. It has a custom sound system in it. You want to hear some music through it? And I was like, okay. So me, my 3 friends, my brother, his friend, we all got up, walked down the driveway, checked out his friend's new car, and it was a new old car. I'm pretty sure it was an old Pontiac. It was not a very nice car, but he wasn't kidding. The sound system was custom, and it looked crazy. He had subwoofers under the back seats, and there was custom lighting throughout the inside of it, and it was a pretty cool looking car for just being some teenager, crappy used car, right? He had it pretty nice. And he has me sit down in the front seat and he turns the keys in the ignition and he hands me a book of CDs that he has in his car. And he's like, yo, play whatever you want, test this sound system out. And everybody else gets in. He gets in the passenger seat. My friends and my brother get in the back seat. They cram in there. And I start playing some songs. I think it was off the Linkin Park Jay-Z album that came out years ago. And the shit was crazy, bro. The subwoofer had my heart feeling like it was about to explode. It was crazy. And we ended up listening to the CD for a minute, and then I turned the volume down because it was overwhelming as fuck. And I look over at my brother's friend in the passenger seat while I'm sitting there in the driver's seat, and I was like, how fast does this thing go? And he goes, pretty fast, bro. I modded the engine. You want to see? And I was like, sure. And I go to unclip the seatbelt to get out and switch seats with him because I wanted him to drive us around, right? And he goes, what are you doing, dude? You're going to drive. And I thought he was kidding, right? And I was like, heh. And I keep unclipping my seatbelt, right? And he goes, dude, put it back on. Seriously, you're going to take it around the block. And even my brother was like, dude, what are you talking about? And his friend turns around. He's like, dude, come on. He's 12 years old. He could drive the car around the block. I did that when I was 11. And my brother's like, I don't give a shit what you did at 11, bro. Like, he's not you. And this is a car full of people, dude. Like, he's never drove before. That's a lot of pressure. And his friend just keeps arguing. He's like, dude, we'll go around the block one time. He's going to go slow. I won't let him go too fast. It'll be fine, bro. And my 3 friends in the backseat are like, yeah, let him drive. Like, he'll be fine. Like, he can do it. And they're like rooting for me. And I'm just sitting up there in the driver's seat, mad quiet, not knowing what's about to happen. And I don't know how, but my brother's friend got him to like give in. My brother was just like, all right, you know what? Fine. One time around the block, and I'm going to sit up front with him and be near the steering wheel in case he starts messing up. Like, I want to be able to save this thing if it goes south. And his friend's like, all right, sure. So my brother's friend gets up out the passenger seat. My brother gets out of the back seat. They switch. My brother is now sitting next to me, and his friend's in the back. All the doors are closed. It's go time. My seatbelt was back on at this point. And my brother looks at me and he goes, okay, so first what you're going to do is put your foot on the brake. So I did. And he goes, okay, now you're going to put the car in reverse and don't take the foot off the brake until I tell you to, okay? I was like, okay. So I put the car in reverse. He goes, okay, now slowly start backing out of the driveway. Just like slowly ease up on the brake. So I do. We start rolling down the driveway very slowly. We get out into the street. I was kind of a natural, I can't lie. Your boy starts turning the wheel to the left. I'm backing out perfectly. I then put the foot on the brake, slow the car down, stop it in the street. And then I put the car in drive and we start going forward very slowly. And my brother looks at me and he's like, dude, have you drove before? You're kind of like killing it right now. And I was like, nah, dude, just like Forza, like video games. He's like, well, shit, man, keep playing them. And we start just heading down my street, and I'm doing pretty good, bro, for a 12-year-old behind the wheel. By the way, wait, before I continue, don't ever do this, okay? Do not drive a car until you are legally allowed to, okay? Like, do not be a 12-year-old behind a wheel. That is, like, so fucking dangerous, and, like, the fact they let this happen was crazy. But anyway, I'm driving down the street, and now I'm getting a little cocky. Actually, I'm getting really cocky. Because after my brother called me a natural, I thought, like, man, I'm the best driver in this car. So I start speeding up a little bit. I'm going down my neighborhood road, and I start going like, I don't know, 40, 50, which is way too fast for, you know, a neighborhood street, especially mine. I think the speed limit at mine was like a 20 maximum speed. So yeah, I'm going like, I don't know, 40, 50 miles an hour, and my brother can kind of tell that I'm getting cocky. And he's like, all right, start slowing down, dude. You're about to come up to a turn. We have to turn to go around the block. And I didn't realize how, like, fast I was coming up to this turn. And also how, like, non-responsive my brother's friend's car's brakes were. So, like, I took my foot off the gas and I started easing onto the brake to make this turn. And it's coming up fast. And the car just doesn't slow down. So I start, like, trying to put more on the brakes. But, like, I just wasn't giving it enough brake. And it wasn't really slowing down as much as I wanted it to. And I was about to miss the turn. And honestly, I should have just missed the turn and then just, you know, kept slowing down and, you know, like did a U-turn or something. But instead, I thought, you know what? No, I'm going to make it. So I just go for this turn. And I'm going pretty fast, right? Like it was a little too fast and sharp to be taking this turn. And sure enough, me being a complete inexperienced child and not knowing how to drive, I turned completely fucked up. And I ended up going up onto this dude's lawn, this neighbor that lived on the corner of this turn. And not only did I go up on his lawn and run over his grass, I also hit his mailbox. I hit his mailbox with the front, like, right side of the car and completely blew out my brother's friend's right headlight. And the mailbox completely snapped in two and just exploded, essentially, when I hit it. And I just kept going. I just kept turning. And eventually I was on the road again and, like, was no longer in that dude's lawn. But there was pieces of the mailbox all over the road because I, like, hit it in that direction. And, like, his lawn was all fucked up and the mailbox was ruined. And I just slam on the brakes and we stop in the middle of the street. And, like, everyone in the car is just, like, frozen and silent. And my brother breaks the silence. He goes, dude, get out, switch seats. And I go to, like, take off my seatbelt and jump out. And he goes, dude, put the car in park first. Put the car in park. And I do. I put the car in park. Then we both take our seatbelts off. We jump out. We switch seats. And as soon as we switch seats, my brother immediately puts the car back in drive. And he peels off fast as hell and drives us out of there. And everyone's just, like, silent. And we're driving back to my house. And, like, I don't know, maybe 10 seconds later, my brother's friend starts speaking up. He's like, dude, my car is probably so fucked up, like you busted my headlight. Why don't you just like slow down more, man? And my brother slams on the brakes, so the car completely stops in the middle of the road. He turns around and he looks at his friend and he goes, shut the fuck up. Oh, you're sad that your car's messed up? Maybe you should have thought twice before letting my 12-year-old fucking brother drive the car. Your fault, dude. Your fault. And then he starts arguing back. He's like, but you said you'd take the wheel if he started messing up. Which, like, he had a point. And my brother did say that. But then my brother argued back. And he's like, dude, I tried to, but we were turning so fast I couldn't lean over in time. And honestly, at the end of the day, they were both pretty much in the wrong for letting it even happen to begin with. And so was I for doing it. Anyway, after this, my brother starts driving again. And his friend's like, dude, what are we going to do? Like, that guy's going to see that. He probably heard it happen. I bet he already called the cops. Like, the cops are probably on their way. Like, what are we going to do? And my brother's like, dude, just chill the fuck out. We're going back to my house. We're just going to chill there for the night. And then tomorrow morning, I'll go talk to the neighbor. I've talked to the dude before. He's a really nice guy. I'll talk to him in the morning. I'll, like, take the blame for it or something. I don't know. But I'll, like, talk to him and I'll handle it. All right? For now, let's just go home. Let's just chill. So we went back to my house. My brother parked his homie's car in the driveway. We all jumped out. Immediately ran to the front to see what the damage was. And honestly, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. The only real fucked up thing was there was a little bit of a dent in the front, like, bumper on that right side, and the front right headlight was broken. So that sucked. But that was it. That was the only thing that was, wrong. Now after this, we went inside, and for about an hour, I'd say, things were kind of just cooling off, chilling out. I was feeling a little bit more calm. I was still terrified about what might happen, but I was, kind of starting to relax after about an hour. And just as I was, like, starting to wind down and things were, like, finally chilling out, we hear the loudest 3 bangs on the front door upstairs. It sounded like some very vicious knocking. It sounded like a cop knocking at the door. We already knew that it was probably going to be a cop based on the sound of the knock. And after we heard this knock, we all looked at each other with, like, the face of, like, I'm so fucking screwed. And we all start walking upstairs to go check it out. And I'm just hoping that my mom doesn't answer the door first because, that knock probably woke her up. And guess what? We go upstairs and we see my mom answering the door. And you want to guess who was outside? 2 cops. And my mom steps outside. I hear the cop go, hello, ma'am. And they start talking. And at this point, we can't hear them because the door closes and we just hear muffled sounds through the wall, right? Like onto the porch. And me, my homies, my brother, his friend, we're all just sitting at the kitchen table, just like waiting for the impending doom that was about to happen, right? And like 5 minutes later, my mom walks in with the cops and she goes, what'd you guys do? And my brother goes, what? And she goes, these cops are telling me that a mailbox was struck just down the street. The neighbor had security footage. It was your friend's car. And one of the cops speaks up. He's like, yeah, we saw it on the security camera and we came down the street looking and we found your car in this driveway with the busted headlight. So, yeah, talk. And first my brother's friend starts to speak and then my brother interrupts and starts like talking. And my brother starts to take the blame. He's like, sorry, like I was driving it. I took the turn too crazy. It was an accident. And I was not about to let my brother get in a shit ton of trouble for something I did, right? Even though I was 12 and I probably didn't know any better, I didn't want my brother, who was an adult, by the way, to get in a shit ton of trouble, because he would have. He probably would have, like, gotten in a ton of trouble. He might have lost his license, because that would be considered a hit and run. So I didn't want that to happen. So I spoke up, and I was like, listen, he's lying for me right now. I drove his car. And my mom immediately was like, what? And I was like, yeah. Okay, like, I wanted to drive it. I thought I was cool. I don't know how to drive. And I hit the mailbox. All right, like, I took the turn all messed up. I didn't know how to turn. I hit that mailbox. And, yeah, it's my fault. And then one of the cops speaks up and he goes, why'd you guys run away? Why don't you, like, get out and tell the neighbor what you did? You ran away. That's not good. And my brother spoke up and he's like, that was my fault. That was me. Like, I was scared. I didn't want anyone to get in trouble. So I just decided that I would go talk to the neighbor tomorrow instead. And I would have. I did have plans to speak with him tomorrow and, like, make things right. And the cop goes, well, that's not how that works. You should have, like, spoke up immediately. And my mom starts, like, begging these cops to, like, not completely screw over my brother and his friend for, not only letting a 12-year-old drive the car, but then fleeing, that kind of thing. And she's like, is there anything they can do to make this right? Like, I don't want them to, like, get in trouble. And this cop goes, well, it's kind of up to your neighbor. Like, he's the one that decides whether, like, charges will be pressed or not. And a few minutes later, the neighbor actually pulled up. He came over to our house because he wanted to speak with us. And my brother was not kidding. This dude was, like, incredibly chill. Like, he came in, wasn't angry, walked in the house, like, still wearing his pajamas because we woke him up with his mailbox getting, exploded by our car. He walks in, he goes, hey, everybody. And we're all like, hey. And then one of the cops speaks up and he's like, yeah, so they're trying to say that the 12-year-old boy here was the one that was driving. They were trying to teach him how to drive or something. And he hit your mailbox. And then the brother took over and they fled. So, we're kind of leaving it in your hands here. Like, what do you want us to do? Do you want to press charges? And this guy goes, no, I don't want to do that. Like, these are just kids. Like, I've grown up on this street with them. I've known them for a long time. They're just kids. However, I want my mailbox replaced. I want my lawn fixed. And I want this to never happen again. And my brother's like, deal. I will fix your lawn. I will help you. I will build you a new mailbox, whatever you need. And they struck a deal. Literally, they had a deal. The next day, my brother had to go there, help replant seeds for grass and, like, fix the lawn up with the neighbor. And then they had to start working on a new mailbox, which took like a week because they built a very, very nice new mailbox that was way cooler than the one before. And the cops actually let it slide, which is crazy because I think this day and age, like today, if that was to happen, I don't think they would have done that. I think today they would have, probably pressed charges on my brother regardless because, like, even though I was the one that hit the mailbox, he was the one that got us all out of there and kind of fled the scene. So yeah, I really don't think they would let that slide today. I think today would be a lot different, with all the body cams and stuff and all the documentation. I think they wouldn't have let that go. But I think back then it was just a little bit of a different time, so they allowed it, or like were a little bit more lenient. I think the cops we got were like particularly like really chill about it and saw that the neighbor like knew my family and like grew up on that street near us. So I don't know, they were really cool about it. But yeah, they let it slide and we kind of struck a deal. And my brother like kind of got in trouble for me. Like he helped the neighbor like replant the lawn and like fix that up, and he helped him build the mailbox, and I didn't have to do anything. Now that isn't to say that I didn't get in a shit ton of trouble. The next day my mom told all of my friends' parents about what happened, and we all got grounded. My friends got grounded for getting in the car and trusting me as a 12-year-old to drive, so they got in trouble for that. I got grounded for doing it. I got grounded for a month and a half, which was basically like half my fucking summer. So that sucked. Couldn't do anything, and I had everything taken from me, so that was trash. But honestly, in the grand scheme of things, thinking about all the other outcomes that could have happened, I think it was a pretty mild punishment. So yeah, guys, there's a moral to this story. It's a pretty simple one. You don't go driving a car if you're 12 years old. That is just the simple moral of the story. Don't be like young Luna. And that's that. I hope you guys enjoyed the story time. If you did, please leave a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. Feel free to leave your story times in the comments down below. And subscribe if you're new. I will see you guys all later. Peace. I'm in a bad mood.